What if I told you that a real-life boy was raised by wolves in the jungles of India? Meet Dina Sanichar, a man whose life was so bizarre and tragic that it feels straight out of a surreal legend. But was Dina's story proof of nature's wild embrace? Or was it a sad example of human cruelty? Buckle up as we dive deep into the life of the Indian wolf boy, unraveling facts, theories, and mysteries that will leave you questioning everything. In 1867, a group of hunters ventured into the dense forests of Uttar Pradesh, India. What they found was no ordinary hunt. Hidden among a pack of wolves was a small boy. He wasn't walking upright. He wasn't speaking. Instead, he was on all fours, growling and eating raw meat just like his wolf companions. Imagine their shock, a human acting like a wild animal. The hunters captured the boy, but in doing so, they tore him away from the only family he had ever known. This boy was later named Dina Sanichar, and while his story is fascinating, it's also deeply unsettling. Was Dina a miracle of survival, or was he a victim of neglect and misunderstanding? Once taken from the forest, Dina was brought to the Sikandra Mission Orphanage in Agra. The missionaries tried to civilize him, but this was no easy task. Dina's behavior was entirely animalistic. He refused to walk upright, instead moving on all fours. He didn't speak a single word and seemed incapable of understanding human interaction. What's even more bizarre, Dina continued to eat raw meat, rejecting cooked food entirely. His habits baffled everyone around him. He sharpened his teeth on bones, avoided human company, and was far more comfortable with animals than people. Can you imagine living like this, torn between two worlds yet belonging to neither? Dina's story raises so many questions. How did he end up in the forest? Why was he accepted by wolves? Some theorists believe Dina was abandoned by his parents as an infant. In 19th century India, extreme poverty often forced families to make heartbreaking choices. Could his parents have left him in the wild, hoping for a miracle? And then there's the wolves. Why didn't they harm him? Animal behavior experts suggest that wolves might adopt human babies if the infants don't pose a threat. Wolves are known to care for their own fiercely. So could Dina's cries have triggered their nurturing instincts? This might sound far-fetched, but nature is full of surprises. Dina's story isn't unique. Throughout history, there have been countless reports of feral children, kids raised by animals. From the infamous Umla and Kamala, two girls said to be raised by wolves in Bengal, to Victor of Auvergne, a French boy found in the woods. These stories are hauntingly similar. But here's a bold question. Are these tales proof of humanity's deep connection to nature, or are they exaggerated myths born out of misunderstanding? In Dina's case, many believe his behavior was misinterpreted. Some argue that Dina wasn't raised by wolves at all, but was a child with developmental disabilities abandoned by society. Could this mean his entire story is based on assumptions? At the orphanage, missionaries worked tirelessly to integrate Dina into human society. But progress was painfully slow. Dina never learned to speak and relied on grunts and gestures to communicate. While he eventually walked upright, he remained distant from others, almost as if he longed for the life he'd left behind. One of the strangest details? Dina never formed close bonds with humans, yet he showed a peculiar fondness for dogs. Was this a lingering connection to his wolf family, or was it a sign of his inability to fully trust humans? This raises another unsettling question. Did the missionaries truly help Dina, or did they strip him of his identity? Imagine the psychological toll of Dina's life. He was taken from the only environment he knew, forced into a world he couldn't understand, and treated like a spectacle. Some accounts describe Dina as deeply unhappy, often retreating into himself. It's heartbreaking to think that in their attempts to save him, society may have caused him even more harm. Experts today believe Dina's behavior might offer insights into how early human development works. Without exposure to language and social interaction during critical developmental years, a child's brain adapts to its environment in extraordinary ways. Dina's story serves as a haunting reminder of how isolation can shape the human mind. Dina Sanichar was reportedly one of the inspirations for Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. While Kipling never confirmed this, the timeline and location are intriguingly close. Dina's name, Sanichar, comes from the Hindi word for Saturday, the day he arrived at the orphanage. Feral children often display extraordinary survival skills. Dina's ability to hunt and eat raw meat was likely key to his survival in the wild. The wolf child phenomenon isn't just limited to wolves. There are stories of children raised by monkeys, bears, and even leopards. Truth or myth? The debate continues. Dina Sanichar's life was far from a fairy tale. He spent his remaining years in the orphanage, never fully adapting to human life. In 1895, at the age of 34, Dina died from tuberculosis. His death was a stark reminder of how poorly his body and mind coped with the transition from the wild to human society. But what's truly tragic is how little we've learned from his story. Dina's life raises profound questions about identity, belonging, and humanity's relationship with nature. Yet, he remains a footnote in history, his experiences overshadowed by fiction and folklore. Some believe Dina's story exposes the limits of human understanding. What if his behavior wasn't just a result of being raised by wolves, but something far deeper? Could he have been born with an extraordinary ability to connect with animals, something we've lost through evolution? Or was his case a cruel reminder of how society treats those who don't fit its mold? Here's the boldest question of all. Was Dina Sanichar a victim of humanity's arrogance? In our quest to civilize him, did we destroy the very essence of who he was? These are questions we may never answer, but they're worth asking. Dina Sanichar's story isn't just about a boy raised by wolves. It's about survival, identity, and the fragile line between humanity and nature. His life was a tragedy, but it also challenges us to rethink our assumptions about what it means to be human. Was Dina truly a wolf boy? Or was he something more? The truth lies somewhere in the shadows, waiting for us to uncover it. His story stands as a haunting reflection of the complexities of survival and adaptation. Dina reminds us that the world is far more mysterious and layered than we might think. His life was shaped by instincts, resilience, and a society that never fully understood him. In the end, he leaves us with a question. Who decides what it means to belong? Dina Sanichar may have been known as the Wolf Boy, but his legacy forces us to confront the boundaries of our humanity. Let us not reduce his life to a mere curiosity, but instead a lesson about empathy, understanding, and the limits of what we think we know. So, as we close the chapter on his life, let's carry forward the mysteries he left behind and the courage it took for him to exist in a world that didn't quite make space for him.